welcome to another episode of the Adrienne Ross Show, where sports and culture connect. Well, there are a lot of happy Indiana Fever fans because Caitlyn Clark, it sounds like, will be ready to go in the Wednesday early game against the Golden State Valkyries. The Golden State Valkyries is the expansion team, not really playing like an expansion team, has a wild fan base, plays up-tempo basketball, and defeated the Indiana Fever on the Golden State Valkyries home court before. This time they'll be in Indiana, but again, this is a tough team, considering especially that it's an expansion team. So having Caitlyn Clark on the floor is great. Not sure how many minutes she'll put in, and I'll get to that in a moment. Right now, I want to go to the Indiana Fever's YouTube page where Caitlyn was being asked about Aari McDonald. We know that Aari came in because of injury issues, and then she had to leave. And then DeWanna Bonner said, "I'm quitting." And so Aari was able to come back. And she has been a spark for this team. Now, she's a point guard. Caitlyn's a point guard. They haven't played together. And so Stephanie White had talked a little bit about that. And so it made sense, of course, that Caitlyn Clark would be asked about that as well. So I want to go to her comments about it. And I want to point out some things because I feel like Caitlyn showed that there are some tweaks that are obviously coming with the two of them playing together, but she also made it clear where she sees herself being positioned most of the time. So let's go on over to YouTube.
Just too.
How has Aari's addition kind of changed that vibe with this defensive group?
Yeah, I mean, she's as active as they come. She's going to be aggressive. She's going to pressure you. She's going to have her hands in passing lane. She's going to cause a little bit of havoc out there, and I think that's exactly what we need. And she's going to pick up full, and I know that well. She guarded me a couple times last year, so I think she's been tremendous for us, honestly.
Caitlyn, how much are you just looking forward to being on the court with Aari?
Yeah, I think it'll be great. Obviously, I haven't played a game with her, I don't think, at least. She's kind of been here when I've been out, so I think it'll be great. I think it'll be nice to play with another point guard who can read the floor really well and get me to come off a few screens rather than just playing out a ball screen mostly. And we're still going to do a lot of that and play in transition and all that, but when we have an opportunity to run me off some screens, and I think that just gives the defense another thing they have to plan for, and we're not as predictable as we may have been earlier in the season. So try some of that, but I think it'll be a lot of fun.
I just want to stop here for a moment and point out that Caitlyn is excited about what Aari brings, the defensive intensity she brings, getting her hands in passing lanes, all the things you just heard. Now, one of the things that really rattles people, and I've done a couple videos on them, at least in the preseason and now, because we hear Stephanie White use the term off the ball a lot when it comes to Caitlyn. Not all the time, and Caitlyn is adamant about that, in case you haven't noticed, but not all the time. What Caitlyn is also adamant about is the value of having her not just get screens when she's on ball, but also running her off screens. And if you've watched them play this season, you see that Caitlyn does that. I mean, you saw it last season as well. You saw it when she was in college, being more proficient at coming off screens, and of course getting good screens to come off the screens, because it keeps people off guard. Like she said, we'll be harder to guard, harder to predict than we were earlier in the season when you can mix it up with someone who can really handle the ball. And that's Aari. We love Kelsey Mitchell, but Kelsey Mitchell is better playing that two position, not the one position. Sophie Cunningham is not a point guard. You got, of course, you've got Sydney Colson who can handle the ball, but Aari, we see Aari, right? She speaks for herself, what she brings to the court. But Caitlyn is understanding, and always has, that there's a time to play off the ball. Does that mean that Caitlyn wants to be off the ball for long stretches of time? Absolutely not. Let's continue.
Steph has talked about kind of taking some pressure off you with scary kind of running point in some actions when you're
Mhm.
playing off the ball. Just how do you think that will help when you reintegrate onto the court?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be nice probably not to have to bring the ball up against pressure 94 feet. But like I said, like,
Notice the but, right? It'll be nice. And you need a little bit of break from the 94 feet. So it'll be nice. But she pauses and says, but, because a point guard, and I was one, wants to have the ball in her hand, but she has to concede that it'll be nice. It'll be good. But back this up a little bit.
94 feet. But like I said, like, that's what I'm best at. So we're still going to do a lot of that. I think finding a balance and finding the ways to give the defense different looks, and, you know, me becoming a better screener and being a good screener and coming off of screens and screening for Kels and, you know, all that different type of stuff that's a whole nother layer of things that the other team has to prepare for. So, like I said, I feel like it makes us less predictable. And I mean, you're still going to see a lot of the same things that we do, but at times, you know, move us off the ball, and especially out of timeouts and drops, maybe not so much our live flow and our live play. I think we'll be solid.
Given that you never,
I think Caitlyn did a great job there. It's clear she loves the ball in her hand. She said, that's when I'm best, with the basketball in my hand. But what makes her such a valuable asset is that she sees the full picture. And that's not just Caitlyn, but other players. Same thing with Caitlyn Clark. She recognizes you got to be able to breathe. Having people in your face 94 feet. And Aari McDonald was one of those people who forgot about a free throw, remember? Because she could guard Caitlyn. That's exhibit A of the intensity. Then you got Kelsey Plum at the All-Star game, right? All over Caitlyn. She demands so much attention, and it can be exhausting. And so having that break is good. But Caitlyn is clear. That's the deviation from the norm. Like, she's not trying to be off the ball all the time. She's not trying to become a two guard. She's a point guard. Now, she will expand her role. Like she said, it will make things more difficult for the opposition. So good coaching has to be able to, as Caitlyn said, find the balance. Find the balance. You have to expand. You have to, to do different things. You've got to make the other team confused, if you will, not know exactly how to guard you. And she's willing to do that. But I wanted to point that out because I love what she says about the value of doing multiple things, but also making it absolutely clear I want the ball in my hand as much as possible, because that's when I'm best. And we know if Caitlyn is at her best, then the rest of the team will be at their best. So I'm going to say what I've said many times before when this topic of off the ball comes up, because I can just see the cringing and I can just hear the from people. This is a wrinkle that you put in. This is not Caitlyn constantly going to be off the ball. She's not going to be off the ball. She doesn't want to be off the ball all the time, is what I'm saying. It's finding the balance. Speaking of balance, what about how much Caitlyn is going to play in this first game back after a quad injury, and then coming back from the quad injury, and then having the groin injury? How much do we expect to see Caitlyn on the floor? Let's take a look.
What have these last few days felt like for you leading into tomorrow's game?
Yeah, I think it's just nice to get back out there and get to the flow of, playing with my teammates again. And, it's gonna be fun to get back out there, hopefully, and just feel things again. I think, I don't know what type of minutes I'm gonna get will look like, but just when I'm out there, like, compete, play hard. This is gonna be a team that's gonna be moving constantly. So just being aware and active, bring energy. And yeah, I think that's obviously hard. Sitting out and watching for a few weeks. So I'm definitely excited to get back out there.
Steph said yesterday you're not a fan of minutes restrictions. How do you anticipate all that actually going when you play more?
Yeah, I hope to play a decent amount, maybe upper 20s. I guess it just depends how I feel and how the game goes, and, what the team needs as well. But yeah, I feel pretty good, but probably going to try not to overdo it as well and put myself in a good position moving forward.
So with Caitlyn back, after being out for a little bit, she doesn't know how much she's going to get. But one of the things that I found interesting, not just there, because what I want to point out right now is just a confirmation of something Stephanie White had previously said, and that is that Caitlyn is not a fan of minutes restrictions. And this was a few days ago. I think I heard Stephanie White talk about this. She's not a fan of it. So it kind of made me think that Caitlyn could have come back a little bit sooner if she was willing to play limited minutes, and she was not. She's not a fan of it. She wants to be able to go all out if she's out there on the court. She doesn't want to just be play. I don't know what the minute restrictions, I don't know how many minutes that means, but right now she doesn't know. We don't know how much we're going to see her in the game against Golden State Valkyries. And I'm glad to hear her say it depends on what the team needs, and it depends on how I feel. Why? Because there's a bigger picture. So maybe 20-something minutes, she said, but she's really not a fan of that. And she's not used to that. This is all a huge adjustment. And she talks about that in this interview. And of course, the link will be in the description of this video, so you can check it out if you have not seen the whole thing. But she's so antsy. I noticed that she's just like, we talked about this in the live stream today. And I don't know, it's just like I don't know if she's just antsy to get out there. I don't know if she's just like, I don't want to talk. I don't feel like doing this right now or what. But she does a good job, of course, answering the questions, but she just seems kind of fidgety. I'm sure she's been she's been out there telling her teammates, as usual, Aaliyah Boston, you're going to be amazing because you are amazing, and cheering her teammates on, first one off the bench. But yeah, man, a player wants to play, a baller wants to ball. And so we'll see how much she gets to do that. And it's going to be interesting because we have seen this team take a positive turn, lots of energy. We've been talking about that. And adversity is still there. Caitlyn Clark, hey, when she came back against New York, it was like, boom, 32 points. It was just absolutely sick. And I mean, like, amazing when I say sick. But now there's that other wrinkle. So now it's another step in trying to get this thing to mesh together. So you got Aari, who is going to be playing with Caitlyn, and she hasn't played with Caitlyn, and vice versa. And how do you do those rotations and all? And Golden State is going to come at the team. Understand that Golden State's record is 9-9. Indiana Fever's record 9-9. So somebody's going to be above 500 at the end of this game, and somebody's going to be below 500 at the end of this game. Will the Fever be able to cut off that loss they should have won against Los Angeles and take it to a hungry, I'm sure, Golden State Valkyries, trying to manage Caitlyn's minutes, trying to manage how all the team is going to work together with her back? It's going to be interesting to see how this works. The ball in Caitlyn's hand most of the time, of course, as she said, it's best that way. I'm best that way, but also running her off screens and keeping Golden State on its heels. It's an early game. I intend to go live, God willing, so make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, of course, and that your notifications are on. And I just pray that everyone is healthy and that they come out with a win, and, of course, that they have a good time. And did I say that they come out with a win? Yes, I said it. I'll say it again, that they come out with a win. And, of course, that they all stay healthy. Should I repeat it? Anyway, it must be late because I am just, I will catch you next time. God willing. God bless you abundantly.